Hello and welcome everyone who is tuning in. This is the Doug and Fur Show. My name is Doug Petrozelli. I'm here with my partner in truth,
Fernando.
and we are doing a remote special again today. Whenever we have current events or something that happens, before we're going to have our next scheduled show, we're doing current events. We want to do more and more of this, and today we want to talk specifically about a current event that happened in the Middle East, specifically the attack that was on the
Airfield in
Kabul
Afghanistan. Yeah, I think
Airfield,
it's
or
Kabul.
KIA, Kabul International Airport.
Yeah, we actually wanted to talk about this when it first happened, but we were busy over the weekend and we couldn't get together. I know it happened a couple days ago, but yeah,
Yeah,
we just wanted to touch on it and we wanted to talk about what's going on as well. I think the deadline to pull all the troops out was August
it's
31st and it's August 30th, but I think all of them are already
right.
out. And I've heard some news about troops having to clean filthy living conditions for the Taliban. So we
Right,
just wanted to talk about that and some
right.
news. Why don't you
Yeah,
start us off and tell us what happened with Kabul and what are your thoughts on it?
yeah. So one first and foremost, we're relying on the Taliban to give us security. And some other news that actually just came out today was that the Taliban, when we basically abandoned this country, one of the things the Taliban gave us, and anybody who doesn't know, the Taliban is the regime that took over and overthrew the government that we had established and we were propping up. But the second we pulled out, this whole government and its whole military was based, its sole survival was based around U.S. influence and help. So we pulled out. You pulled out the foundation. This entire political system and military system completely collapsed, and the Taliban, who we originally kicked out, was ready and ripe for the taking to take that over. So these are our enemies. The Taliban are our enemies, and they come to us, and this was some news that I heard today, was and said that they were going to give us the entire city of Kabul while we were getting each other out. And the Biden administration denied it and said, no, we'll just take Kabul Airport, which for anybody doesn't know, Kabul Airport is literally, I know it's called Kabul International Airport. It's literally an airport with one runway strip. And that's what we decided was the bright idea, to go ahead and say that's all we needed. And the good gracious of the Taliban was going to give us the whole city. And why would we turn that down? Why were we negotiating with the Taliban in any way, shape, or form is beyond me. They're the ones that housed Osama bin Laden and Al Qaeda, who are totally and fully responsible for the 9/11 attacks, and they basically told us where to go when we wanted, their backing and helping us find Osama bin Laden. And now they're taking over, and we are now relying on them for security outside the airport. Inside the airport was U.S. military troops, that were providing the security. That border wall was essentially U.S. and Western ally troops providing security. But once you get outside the wider range, it's the Taliban. We're relying on the Taliban for security. And the Taliban are a little less likely to actually present a terrorist attack against us. But they're not really that helpful in stopping them. Al Qaeda, ISIS-K, basically, Afghanistan is a hotbed of new evil regimes that rise up, that are have a ideology that is founded in radical Islamic terrorism. And I know that's not every one of everybody who believes in Islam is a radical Islamic terrorist, but there are about 10% of people who study and read and are followers of Islam are considered radicalized, and extreme radicals, people who believe in strapping suicide bombs to themselves and blowing themselves up. And this is exactly what happened. We rely on the Taliban to allow some security for us. And from everything I'm understanding, and there's a lot of speculation around this, but it was essentially that Al Qaeda members who are very willing to just blow up and kill anybody out of the West, and Western democracies. That was basically what happened. They came in there, with suicide vests and blew up themselves, and I think it was 160 others in total,
Yeah,
and
something like that.
13 of them were U.S. I believe they're Marines specifically, but they were U.S. military men and women for sure. I think the vast majority of it, I think out of the 13, there was like 10 of them that were 23 or younger, 23 years old or younger. So that's, that's almost 10 years younger than me and Fernando here. These are people that just were starting their lives and their careers here. And, it's something that's just absolutely horrible and horrific. And it's all due to the fact that we lost complete control of this country, and we lost complete control of it because of this administration's way of wanting to pull out. We can debate, and I think, we discussed before, I don't think we should have pulled out, and that's debatable. There's nothing debatable about how we are pulling out. This is absolutely reprehensible, and now there's blood on the hands of this administration.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on a couple things you said there. You said a lot of things, but I really didn't want to interrupt you. I wanted to touch on, well, since it's the most recent thing you said about there being blood on the administration, about debating whether or not we should have pulled out versus debating how we pulled out. I wanted to touch on some of the details of the attacks, and I wanted to touch on the Taliban versus ISIS-K. So I'll start with the Taliban and ISIS-K and stuff. It's kind of sad because the Taliban, although they have ties to Islamic terrorist groups,
Right,
um, their ideology is like you said, it's completely radicalized in the sense of the way they treat women and certain things that they deem to be sin. For example, adultery is punishable by death and stoning, and women aren't allowed in education and things like that. And
right,
now they come out and they say, "Oh, we're different now. We
right,
actually give women a different place within the bounds of Islamic law." So
right.
it's like,
Within Sharia law.
yeah, it's like who defines that, right? They define it and
Right,
they end up doing the same thing.
right,
So it's sad that that's what we fought to take down and we just give
right,
it up. So like I said in the
right,
previous podcast, that all these people that lost their lives, all these U.S. service members that lost their lives fighting this regime, we just give it
right,
back to them. And it's everything they did. The people that are in wheelchairs, the widows, the fatherless, all of it was in vain because we just
right,
gave it right back to them. Not only did we give it back to them, but we supplied them. I just saw a video today of the Taliban walking into into a hangar with uh, Chinooks, which are military transport helicopters. They
right.
have thousands of Humvees, of trucks, of infantry fighting vehicles, rifles,
Yeah.
machine guns, and that's not including, helicopters and planes, which
Right.
is not.
I think it totaled $85 billion worth
Yes,
of U.S. military equipment.
yeah, so it's just sad to me that that happened. Um, and that's not a debate of whether or not we should have pulled out. That's a debate of how we pulled out. Because if
Right.
you think we should have pulled out, which again I disagree, and we talked about this last time, but let's say for the sake of argument that we agree that yes, we should have pulled out, we don't need to pull out in a way that gives them everything we own, I
Right.
mean, I know we didn't directly give it to them, but we gave it to the Afghan National Army, left it in their hands, and they gave it all up. You know,
Right.
if that happens, right? Like, I mean, that part of the Afghan army giving up, that's out of our control. But what's not out of
Right.
our control are the actions that we can take after that.
Right.
When we see that the Afghan National Army, the ANA, pulled out and and all of this equipment fell into their hands, we need to immediately recover that. Those are
Right.
lost assets that we need to recover. We can't give that to the enemy. Now, if the Taliban are going to remain an enemy of the US, but kind of like, yeah, you're our enemy, but you're distant, we're done fighting with you, you got to keep in mind they're still an enemy. Now they're going to be dressed in US military gear and they're going to be enforcing their evil Sharia law on people
Right.
with our gear, with our night vision and stuff. So that's something that we needed to recover right away.
Right.
Now, I believe in giving credit where credit's due. Um, Biden did threaten that if any harm comes upon U.S. service members, that they were going to feel the wrath of the United States. I'm paraphrasing in some of those words. And after the attack, so Biden did command an airstrike, and we did kill, I think, 3 or 4 leaders
Right.
of
A lot of that
ICE.
information is still coming out. It's not 100% confirmed of who these people are and what their specific title and rank was.
Okay, but at the end of the day, I mean, he did keep his word. Like he said he was going to do that. He
Right. There
did it.
was a retaliation.
There was a retaliation, so I will give credit for that. That doesn't mean that the way it went about it, so like pulling out and everything, like that obviously, I mean, Democrats, Republicans, no matter where you are on the scale, pretty much everyone agrees that it was done poorly. Whether or not you
Right.
agree with the Biden presidency or the administration, whether or not who you voted for, I think
right,
it's pretty safe to say that the way it was done was just poorly executed, and it cost the lives of many people, or many
right,
Afghans and 13 U.S. service members. So
right,
so that's kind of like my take on all of that. Um, and the Taliban definitely don't care if
right,
ISIS comes and blows us up. Like they're like,
right.
we're not going to
Very
do
clear.
it. Yeah, we're not going to do it because we don't want to get bombed. That's what they say, right? Or we don't
Right,
want to get attacked by the U.S. But if you guys want to do it, we're not going to stop you, type of thing,
right,
right? So and then it's just the way that it was handled, like in that sense, it cost lives at the end of the day. But I
right,
have heard an argument from a conservative standpoint, which I don't necessarily agree with, which is what you said earlier, Doug, where you said there's blood on the hands of this administration. While
right,
that is true, there is blood on the hands of the administration. I think that there's blood on the hands of every administration. If you want to take that approach, then you can say, well, the Bush administration, they didn't need to go into Iraq. They could have just gone into Afghanistan. Why are we
right.
fighting a war that's not ours? And Bush lost a lot more troops than 13 U.S. service members. Or you can
Sure.
say FDR, right? When we sent the troops into Normandy in 1944, why
Right,
did we send them that way? Why didn't we try another approach so we didn't lose 3,000 U.S. troops? Basically they were human meat shields as they were approaching the
right,
beaches of Normandy, just getting gunned down
right,
by the Germans. So
right,
every administration, we have been in conflict since I think World War II, and every administration has had a
right,
part in the conflict, whether it's deploying troops to Vietnam or Korea or Desert Storm or whatever. There's blood
right,
in the hands of every administration, and
right,
I think that we should hold them accountable, but I don't think it's like the type of thing where we say like, oh, this administration sucks because they did that, because then our biases on who we voted for are coming into play. We just have to look at the actions that are happening as opposed to our political biases on the way something was handled. That's my opinion, and I
right,
don't know if someone out there would agree, or if someone out there is like, no, Biden is just the absolute worst, and he needs to be court-martialed. I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion on that, on whether he should be court-martialed or not, or anything like that, or impeached. I just don't want to go down the same road that the Democrats went down when Trump was doing stuff, right? So they're like, oh, the
right,
Trump
right,
in Russia thing, or the Trump in the Capitol riots. Well, it's everything he did was an impeachable offense, right? And
right,
if we go down this road like they did, I think we need to stop that. If we go down this
right,
road, every 2 years is going to be trying to impeach the president that was picked 2 years
right,
prior. And it's just, we're just going to be going back and forth. It's accept the results
right,
of the presidency and only impeach them on a truly impeachable offense, which I
right,
don't believe this was. I think it was horrible, but I
right,
don't believe it's impeachable. That's my
right.
opinion.
I don't think so either. I don't think so either.
So yeah, that's my outlook on that, and
Right,
I really just pray for the people in Afghanistan, the U.S. service members. I mean, I think we completely pulled out now, but the people that are going to be living under that regime, it's horrible. I
right,
empathize with them, and I think the most we can do is pray. And look for organizations that are donating to their cause, if any. I don't know that any exist. I think maybe it'd
right,
be a good thing if you and I, Doug, like did some research and posted on our story or something like that.
right.
Um, but yeah, so I don't know. Those are my thoughts.
Right. No, I definitely will have to say that this is extremely disappointing. Like I said, we can go back and forth on what the decisions are being made, whether we like them or not. But this is a question of how they're being made, and I can't tell you how disappointed I am that we, the most powerful military in the world, have allowed some slack division, eighth century barbarians do this to us, and give us a mandate of when we need to be out.
Yeah.
My whole answer is, or what?
Yeah.
Or what? What are you going to do about it if we're not going to be there? We are not the oppressors. We are the liberators. And I frankly don't give a damn what anybody says. I believe that with all my heart. If you want to, proclaim that the U.S. is this colonizer, well, you tell the people that are living there, would they rather live under, the United States keeping order, or would they rather live there right now? And the fact that we are, taking, these demands from Taliban, that's just beyond me. How we are negotiating with terrorists that we how we're negotiating with anybody who just violates,
Human
human
rights,
rights and
yeah.
civil liberties this way. That is beyond me. Never
Well, when
mind, this is not a powerful country that we do not answer to.
well, when the U.S. was there, it had returned. A lot of normality and civilization had returned to Afghanistan. There
Sure.
were restaurants and coffee shops, and
Yeah.
women were,
Especially in the major cities. Yeah.
yeah. So it was, it's like you said, ask them what they rather. Do they want to return to Sharia law and life under the Taliban, or do they want that freedom? So, and I think that's what the U.S. was offering. Did we colonize back in the 1600s? Sure. Um, just like every other Western European country. Um, but we're past
And
that.
just like every other nation that had the ability to
Yeah.
colonize did.
I am not 500 years old, and neither is anyone watching this. And you and I did not colonize. Our great 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 ancestors. Well, not mine because I'm Hispanic, but your great great ancestors, Doug, might have.
Well, the
So.
Spanish are one of the greatest
Oh,
colonizers
true.
in the
Yeah, I do
entire
have
world.
Portuguese and Spanish blood.
The
So yeah,
Spanish
they
and the
colonized as well.
Portuguese.
So that's it's not fair to hold children accountable for the sins of their fathers. But I wanted to talk about the next point, which is something that is being looked at a lot as controversial. It's now the Afghan refugees. All the Afghans that
Right.
pulled out of the country, where are they going?
Right.
Democrats say, oh, bring them here and offer them a place here, and Republicans are saying no. For the
Right.
most part, that's not true of everyone. Obviously, there are exceptions, but for the most part, that seems to be the stance. And this viewpoint, this idea that how Democrats say bring them in and Republicans say no, keep them out, that type of idea is what keeps people thinking that Democrats are a party of love and Republicans are a party of hate. Because
Mm,
Democrats are like, we want to accept everyone, and Republicans are, we want to keep everyone out. Republicans are, we don't want gay rights, we don't want abortion, and we don't like transgenders. That's the misconception that exists,
right.
and the misconception also that Democrats love everyone and stuff. And I wish that misconception would go away. So in this case, right, like in most cases, the majority of Republicans, um, I speak for myself as I think the majority of Republicans as well, it's not that we don't want to take in refugees, it's that the refugees are coming from a country that we're at war with. So
Right.
taking in unvetted refugees is a potential
Right.
risk for us. You know, even with the restrictions we had in place in 2001, terrorists still managed to get a pilot's license here in Opelika Airport, learn how
Right.
to fly a plane and fly it into the World Trade Center. Now imagine
Right.
if we're just letting in a bunch of people without vetting them.
Right. Right.
That's why there's a process to become a US citizen and to become a US
Right.
resident. I wish the process was
Or
a
to
little bit
enter the
easier.
U.S. in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And that's I wish the process were a little easier. And not easier in the sense that like the restrictions were lifted or the I mean easier is in like faster. The government works
Right.
so slow. I don't think it
Right.
takes 7 years to find out whether someone's a good person or a bad person
Right.
or anything like that. I think for me
Right.
it took over 10 years to get my citizenship. But so I wish that process was speedier, but definitely I think Republicans are on the side of yeah, if hardworking people that want to become United States citizens, like yeah,
Right.
we're all for it. But
Right.
we want them
Absolutely.
to come to the United States to be Americans, not them to
Right.
come to the United States and bring their negative policies. We don't want Taliban and Sharia
Right.
law here,
No.
and because obviously that's what they're running away from. And we also don't want United States enemies coming to America and causing domestic terrorism.
Right.
So that's the viewpoint we're coming from. Not we
Right.
don't want people to come and we hate people. And I want if anyone is a Democrat that has that misconception of Republicans, I wanted to clarify that. Um, and I'm sure that most of Democrats that are oh let them in, let them in, let them in, have a good heart and they want the best for them. And just like Republicans, we just want to be more careful.
Right.
And I would warn this though, there are a lot of Democrats that not like Democrat voters, but Democrats in power that want to let everyone in because if you let them in, they'll vote for you, right? Oh,
Right.
think about it. I'm the guy that let you come here, so why not vote for me? And it's a
Right.
power grab, so that's something to
Right.
watch out for and be careful for.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the other thing that before we ever even talk about refugees, I want to talk about the U.S. citizens on the ground, not just in Kabul, but the entire country of Afghanistan. There's tens of thousands of American citizens that are there in Afghanistan. Never mind all the green card holders, and then never mind all the individuals that are, not, they're not citizens or green card holders, but they're citizens of Afghanistan, and they were helping us. They were translators. They were
Yeah.
there on the ground. They were helping develop our intelligence there.
Yeah.
That's priority,
Yeah.
I think that we owe a service to those individuals that have helped keep, the shores of America free. And that to me is way before we even start talking about refugees. I want every one of the individuals, first and foremost, we owe a responsibility to the U.S. citizen. Secondly, to the green card holders who have, the same rights as we do, as far as U.S. citizens go. And then thirdly, but definitely not forgetting about the individuals that were helping us on the ground, the Afghans that were helping the U.S. on the ground.
Yeah.
The
Well,
fact that we
they're most
go
at
ahead.
risk
Absolutely,
because
absolutely,
yeah, because they're the ones that are going to be targeted by the Taliban and stuff, and I think some of them have already
right.
been targeted, tortured,
Oh
beat, and
yeah,
killed. So
absolutely,
I mean, it's sad that when these things happen, there's always tragedy, there's always death, there's always uh all those types of things, right? But I think we need to do our best to handle it. I mean, what's done is done, but it's like it keeps happening, right? So
right,
like, okay, fine, we pulled all our troops out, and then what? Like do
Mhm.
what you need to do to make amends.
Right,
It's like we just keep spitting in the face of everyone who fought and died for it. And the other thing I wanted to say is recently I saw, now I don't have all the details on this, so I may be misinformed, and if I am, feel free to let me know. But I saw pictures, videos, and texts of U.S. soldiers that have now evacuated. They were forced, like they were commanded by their superior officers to clean
right,
everything. Now, I don't know if they were the ones that made it that way or if that's how bad their living conditions were because they weren't able to, but it was horrendous. There was
right,
feces and urine everywhere and everything was just a mess and
right,
like obviously because the toilets weren't flushing and it was
right,
just horrible. And the superior officers made them clean everything while the Taliban are standing 30 meters away, like just right there waiting for them to finish cleaning.
right,
They get on a plane, leave, and now the Taliban come in into a nice, clean environment.
right.
So that's just like a spit in the face. Like, hey,
Yeah,
I lost my legs, my dad died. Um, yeah, why don't you just go ahead and clean up all this feces for the
yeah.
Taliban?
Yeah, I mean, I think those are the last people. These are not people we are working with. I don't know where there's this idea in the media that we are working with the Taliban. The Taliban is not the Afghan government that we,
That we're
that
helping.
we kind of, were facilitating. These are the savages that came in and took over everything. We should not be answering or doing a damn thing for them. I don't care if I made it a mess. I'll hand it over to you however I feel like it. I don't think we should hand it over to them at all because I think that that's just giving them, the idea that they can stand up to the greatest army in the world. And if they think that they can kick us out of their own country, what are they going to do? Because they have a manifest, a 100-year manifest that says, it's an attack on the West, on the Western democracies, and
Hmm.
specifically the United States and Israel. So I just find that completely horrendous. I find that repulsive that that was something that they were asked to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are all the points I wanted to touch on. That's what I wanted to wrap up on,
Right.
and I hope if there were any misconceptions that anybody had of political sides when it came to this situation. I hope that we were able to clear those up and just share our thoughts, and we hope that you guys align with our thoughts. But if you don't and you have anything you want to talk about or share, feel free to like always just DM us and reach out and we can give you a spot on the show or we can even just talk to you.
Yeah.
Just let us know. But that's all I got. How about you?
No, that's it. Just thank you everybody for joining in, and we just appreciate it. And like I said, reach out to us. On all our various social media and platforms that we're on here today. Share it, like it. Tell others about it. But this is the Doug and Fur Show.
All right, signing off.